The derelict freighter was a tomb of shadows and silence, save for the distant, rhythmic groan of stressed metal. He moved through its carcass, a scavenger in insulated gear, his helmet light cutting a feeble swath through the dust. This sector was picked over, a graveyard of old human expansion, but sometimes, if you looked in the forgotten corners, you could find something the corporate strippers had missed. A spare power coupling, maybe. Some salvageable wiring. He found it in a collapsed storage locker, half buried under a fallen support beam. It was a length of metal, about the span of his arm, pitted and stained with age. He almost passed it by, but a habit, born of countless empty halls, made him reach for it. His gloved fingers closed around the hilt. It was heavier than it looked. He pulled it free, and a cascade of rust-colored dust swirled in his light dot. It was a blade, or had been. The outline was there, a straight, unadorned length of steel that widened slightly before tapering to a blunt, corroded point. The crossguard was simple, squared off. There was no sharpness left, only the crumbling teeth of decay. It was a relic, a piece of history so obsolete it was almost picturesque. He turned it over. No markings, just the uniform, orange-brown ruin of centuries in vacuum and neglect. He brushed the dust from the flat of the blade with his thumb. A pointless gesture. It was just scrap. Good for a few ounces of recycled alloy, maybe. He was about to toss it back into the gloom when it happened. A light. Not from his helmet. A soft, cool blue line etched itself along the central fuller of the blade from hilt to tip. It pulsed once, a slow, deliberate heartbeat of light. He froze, his breath loud in his own ears. Then a voice. It did not come from around him. It came from inside him, clear and resonant, bypassing his ears entirely to speak directly into his mind. Biometric scan complete. Neural pattern recognized. Welcome back, your sovereign. He dropped the blade. It clattered on the deck plating, the blue light winking out. He stumbled back, heart hammering against his ribs. The silence rushed back in, thicker and more profound than before. He stood there for a long minute, staring at the inert metal on the floor. A hallucination? Stress? Low oxygen? His suit readings were all green. Cautiously, he bent down and picked it up again. The moment his skin made contact through his glove, the voice returned, calm and undeniable. System reboot initiated. Please maintain contact for diagnostic integrity. Who are you? He whispered, the words swallowed by his helmet. I am the sentinel of the First Crown. You are the sovereign. The last registered genetic and neural key. Status, presumed lost. Status, now recovered. This is a mistake, he said, his voice firmer. I'm a scavenger, from the Gyre Belt settlements. My parents were mechanics. I'm no sovereign. Historical data indicates a period of significant societal collapse and diaspora. Lineage is not a requirement of the key. The key is you. You are the key. The lock has been waiting. The blue light returned, steadier now. Along the blade, a miracle of nano-restoration began. The rust flaked away, not falling, but seeming to dissolve into the air. Beneath the decay was not simply steel, but a material that drank in the light and gave back a subtle pearlescent sheen. The edge remained blunt, but the metal was now pristine, impossibly so for something just pulled from a wreck. You have questions. This unit is authorized to provide context. The vessel you stand upon was not a freighter. It was a command skiff of the Royal Armada, designation Light of Terra. It was damaged during the retreat from the core systems after the Great Dimming. Its purpose was preservation. Preservation of the key. Preservation of me. The Great Dimming. He knew the term from the vague, fragmented histories. It was the name for the fall, when humanity's first empire among the stars had shattered. The reasons were lost, the records corrupted. What remained were scattered colonies and new powers that had risen in the dark. The Zell, the Kithron, the others. Humanity was just another species now, not a ruler. And what are you supposed to do? He asked, the blade feeling less like a tool and more like a living thing in his hand. I am a weapon, a focus, a symbol. My primary function is the defense of the sovereign and the restoration of sovereignty. This vessel retains dormant systems. With your authority, they can be reactivated. He laughed, a short, sharp sound of disbelief. Reactivate what? This Hulk? It's dead. It's been dead for 500 years. There's no empire to restore. Humanity has moved on. We have the Commonwealth. It's not much, but it's ours. The Commonwealth is a fragment, surviving on the periphery under the sufferance of stronger species. This is documented. The Zell Consortium administers your trade. The Kithran hierarchy dictates spatial boundaries. Sovereignty is absent. The statement was delivered with pure, dispassionate logic. It was also undeniably true. He had lived that truth, paying Zell tolls and avoiding Kithran patrol lanes. His people were not masters of their own fate. They were tenants. A low hum began to vibrate through the deck. Conduits along the walls, long dark, flickered with a deep amber light. The hum climbed in pitch and steadied into a quiet, powerful thrum. The ship was waking up. What did you do? He breathed. I have routed minimal power to primary systems. The reactor was in conservation mode, not extinguished. Your presence provides the command code. The ship acknowledges its sovereign. A holographic display shimmered to life in the air before him, showing a schematic of the vessel. It was no freighter. The outline was sleek, predatory, layered with weapon ports and drive housings that had been cleverly disguised as cargo holds and structural ribs. This was a warship, a potent one. He felt a weight settle on him, a gravity far greater than any planet's. This was not scrap. This was a seed of a forgotten power, and it had just taken root in his hand. He thought of turning it off, of throwing the blade away and fleeing back to his modest shuttle. He could report the find to the Commonwealth authorities. They would send a team, take it all apart, but the voice in his mind, the sentinel, spoke again, softer now. They will not understand. They will seek to dismantle, to study. They will not see the key. They will see only a weapon to be controlled or destroyed. Your protection is my function. Your will is my command. He looked at the pristine blade, then at the glowing schematics of the ship, his ship. A forgotten majesty lay dormant here, and it had called him sovereign. It was madness. It was a burden he never sought. Yet the image of the Zell, overseer on the last station, dismissing his permit with a contemptuous flick of a clawed hand, flashed in his mind. He thought of the Kithron border guards, their cold eyes evaluating human lives as statistical variables. He was no king. He was a man who brushed dust off scrap. But perhaps that was what the times required. Not a crowned ruler from a history book, but someone who knew the value of things others had thrown away. What is the first step? He asked, the words feeling strange on his tongue. Strategic assessment indicates the nearest Zell monitoring outpost has classified this sector as derelict. Their sensors are passive. The reactivation of this vessel may have triggered a low-level anomaly alert. A show of presence is recommended to deter investigation. A show of presence? The holographic display zoomed in on a single weapon system. A particle lance. Status, dormant, but capable. The targeting data fed into his mind through the link with the blade, not overwhelming, but clear and instinctive. He could see the distant outpost, a flicker on the edge of the scanner range. You wish them to see, to know that something has changed. Not to destroy, but to announce, aim, and think the command to fire. He lifted the blade, not as a sword, but as a pointer. He looked through the layers of the ship, through the hull, at the distant, arrogant little outpost that monitored his people's movements. He felt the ancient power coil in the bones of the ship, a deep, resonant charge gathering. He did not speak. He simply willed it. From the disguised prow of the derelict, a lance of pure, coherent energy, brighter than a star, seared across the void. It was not a blast meant to pierce. It was a brushstroke. It washed over the Zell outpost's shields, overloading every sensor in a blaze of harmless, terrifying light. For 3 full seconds, the dark of the sector was banished. Then it was gone. On the outpost, alarms would be blaring. Sensors would be blinded. They would have data showing an energy signature of impossible magnitude and archaic design. They would have questions with no answers. On the command skiff light of Terra, the scavenger lowered the blade. The blue light along its length glowed with a steady, satisfied warmth. The hum of the ship was a comforting, powerful heartbeat around him. What next? He asked the silent voice in his mind. "Next, your sovereign," the sentinel replied. "We begin." The man stood in the heart of the awakening ship, the dusty scrap in his hand, now a key to a forgotten kingdom, and looked out at the stars with new eyes.